Hi guys, how you going? Campbell here from Autodidactic channel. Hope you're all having a splendid day. And of course, autodidactic means to be self-educated. And in this world, especially at this point in history that we find ourselves, we need to be self-educated because it's becoming clearer and clearer every day that what we are being told is not true, and we are being fed a bunch of lies. And this obviously is mainly coming from the mainstream media, but there is a lot going on behind the scenes. Obviously, we all know what's going on. The world is going a bit crazy. And I just wanted to have a bit of a talk about, what is or what might be, what hopefully is going on behind the scenes. I have been following this since the start of the pandemic, this sort of backstory. And the more I look into it, the more time goes on, the more I hear, the more it's starting to make sense to me. Now I'm someone who doesn't, I like, especially when I'm putting out content, I like to, uh, know what I'm talking about. I'm not someone who just jumps on, hears something, and will run out and say, oh, this is the truth. Look at this. We're all saved. I don't think that does anyone any good. But I have said all along, we've all heard of Q, and I've said all along that, I'm not sure about Q, but I do really hope that it's true, what they're doing. And so with a bit more research, uh, a bit of a backstory on Nesara. You can see on the screen here, Nesara is the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. You may have also heard of JSARA, which is the exact same act, but they have replaced national with global, so they've made it for the whole world rather than just the USA. And it's all about, as you can see, full credit card and debt forgiveness, end of tax and the IRS, return to constitutional law, return to gold-backed currency, plus many other worldwide benefits. So now we have Nesara, JSARA, and see this, everything that's going on at the moment, we anyone who's been following this story can see what's happening. All these things are coming out. They're being thrown at us to create fear and confusion. And this has now been going on for about 3 months. We were told in the beginning it would be 2 weeks. Businesses still are not able to open properly. The economy, see, this is the thing. The economy has pretty much gone, guys. Like the Fed, the interest debt-based economy, it's gone. It's got right. No one's talking about this. It's gone. Like it can't recover. The money that people have and the amount of money that they've been printing, like $17 trillion in one go in America. Now they're talking about another, what is it, 8 trillion or something that they're going to whack into the economy. Most of that 17 trillion, the first lot got stolen by the banksters and the cabal. And so the economy's gone. So is there something else going on behind the scenes? Because JSARA is all about creating a new world economy. So to create something new, what do you need to do? You need to break down the old system, don't you? You need to, the old system has to be let to fall away or destroyed before something new can take its place. So is this what's going on? So a bit of backstory. So JSARA was Nesara, and it started, I heard that it started in the 50s after World War II, but I couldn't find much on that because the story says that this goes back to JFK, and obviously we've all heard JFK's speech, and this Q goes back to JFK, and JFK was obviously assassinated, and we pretty much all know who was behind it now, cabal, those cocaine into America, people. And what happened is he was obviously a very popular president and leader. And after he was assassinated, the story goes that around 200 very high-ranking military officials got together and they decided that something had to be done, that this cabal had to be taken down. And that was in the 60s. So this has been 50 years in the making. Now, after that, what happened was the government, the post-JFK government, were then going out and they were letting banks, obviously they're all in cahoots, and what they were doing, and this goes on today, I've seen them doing this today, and what they do is they go to people, normally older people, the banks go, and when these people need a loan, obviously farmers are in that position often, and they say, sure, we'll give you a loan, oh, you need 200 grand, how about we give you 400 grand, and all you'll need to do is sign over your house to it. So you can have it until the day you die, you can live in it, you can run your farm, but when you die, the bank owns your house and farm. And they did this across America, and today they do it to people, to our elderly people. They take their houses and they swap them for these houses in these retirement villages where these people end up with, when they die, their house, because they're allowed to keep their house until they die so they can get rent from it. And when they die, the retirement villages take their houses and sell them. And the people, the house that these pensioners buy in these retirement villages, they don't own the land. They just own these little 1-2 bedroom silly houses, units really, that they pay exorbitant amounts of money for. And I know they get facilities and stuff, but it's still a complete rip-off. And this is what was going on, the same thing back in the 70s in the USA. They were basically doing this to farmers. And it says here that in 1978, an elderly ranch farmer in Colorado purchased a farm with a loan from a federal land bank. After he died, the property was passed to his son, who was in the military. Soon after, when he returned home, a field federal marshal appeared on his property, informed him that the bank was foreclosing on the farm and he needed to vacate within 30 days. Without his knowledge, his deceased father signed a stipulation which reverted the property back to the federal land bank in the event of the borrower's death. And this turned into Nesara. So basically all the farmers started to get together and they started a series of lawsuits which began in the mid-80s, and they would take against the government and against the banks, and that was all saying that, interest was illegal, tax was illegal, or because they went and they did their research. And so we're all standing on the shoulders of this research today. And so this went through and it got passed. Okay, to just bring down the Fed, to erase debt-based money, to erase interest on loans, to erase federal tax, but there is, I think it's a 10% flat rate and no sales tax, or sales tax on new things only. But basically, it's a lot less tax. And plus, there's also everyone gets an income for nothing, and people over 60 get more of an income. So it's a very good thing. And it talks about here, it goes, Farm Aid was to do with it. And we all know about Farm Aid in the 80s, even, Bruce Springsteen did, not Bruce Springsteen, sorry, John Mellencamp did the Scarecrow album, all about the farmers losing their farms. And so this got passed, but the problem is it never got announced as an act. And the law states that it has to be announced publicly as an act before it can take effect. So after a lot of trying, they tried to get it released, and the date that it was supposed to be made public was, can you guess? September 11, 2001. And we all know what happened on that day, and we all know the amount of money. What was that? 17 billion, I think it was Was it 17? Lots of 17s around. Isn't that Q? I don't know if it was 17, but lots of money disappeared, and then the Pentagon got hit, and the place that it got hit just happened to be the place storing, thousands, tens of thousands of legal documents, all relating to all this fraud. And so that was now almost 20 years ago. And so all this time, people behind the scenes have been trying to get this Nesara, which has turned into the Nesara Act, made legal, basically brought in and announced. And so this is the story behind what Q is all about, and the whole Trump thing. And no matter what you think about Trump, this is not about politics. I don't believe in politics myself. Two wings of the same bird. We know the deal. There's no difference between the parties. Though I must say, watching the US this year, there's definitely a difference between their two parties. It's basically, and this is another thing that just, and most of this is circumstantial. And we have reports that Trump's taken over the Fed. It's been reduced to about 10% of its size, and it's now just a department of the National Treasury. That's the Federal Reserve, the Rothschilds debt-based bank. So that apparently has been taken down. We have reports of over 100,000 warrants being issued for arrests for people. Mainly that's to do with fraud and sedition, and all these people out there basically trying to crash the economy and bring down countries. Then there's reports as well of the same, like I think probably tens of thousands of human traffickers and pedos being caught. And I've shown in previous videos, we have that video of the Pope disappearing. And what's that about? Was that a hologram? Where is the Pope? When was the last time you saw the Pope? The Queen. When was the last time you saw the Queen? We had the Queen come out, what was it? Probably 6 weeks ago with her COVID-19 message. And of course, literally the day that was released, as it was released as a live stream, people checked out where it came from, and it was actually about 3 months old. So where's the Queen? Prince Harry. Why did Prince Harry leave the royal family? What's that all about? And the rest of the world. Where's Charles? Where's William? Where are all these people? Where are they? Where's Hillary Clinton? Now, the USA is now less than 6 months out from an election. Where's Hillary Clinton? That doesn't make sense at all. Barack Obama, all these people, very, very, suspiciously quiet. Where are they? And obviously we have all the actors, and we have all this stuff and all these weird videos they've been putting out. We have, Ellen with that jumper on, and the weird pictures on her walls. Other celebrities have had the same weird pictures on their walls. We have Tom Hanks, with different hairlines. Just strange stuff. And where are all the celebrities? They only come out and say the same thing. They come out and do their silly little songs and tell everyone to basically obey the rules. Stay inside. Oh, we're all in this together. That's all they do. But where are they? Like, seriously, what is going on? Where are all these people that are normally so in our face? Where are they? Like, this is what's making me think that this is going on. This whole Nesara thing is, the more I look into it and the more days go by, the more real it looks, because we know this, the cabal, they like to play their magic tricks, right? Whatever they're showing us, whatever time it is, it's always a smoke screen. It's always the old magician's trick. Look at this hand, but what's the other hand doing? So we know, and look how full on this has been. It's been the quarantine, it's been the lockdown, then it's been the first set of protests, which were anti-lockdown. Then, of course, we have the BLM, Antifa, then what have we got now? Chop or Chaz, the autonomous zone. We've got police, and this is the thing: the police people are just resigning in droves. But what about the heads of police? I think we've had 3 in the US just step down. Oh, it's just all too hard. Sorry, I'm stepping down. In the mayor of Washington, I don't know if it's the mayor of Washington State. I'm not exactly sure how the politics works in the USA, but in Seattle, the mayor of Seattle at least says that she's not doing anything about this autonomous zone, and she's calling it the summer of love. 3 people have been shot so far, one's dead. There's been massive reports of looting, of people being beaten up, people being raped, all this stuff. And the governments are just letting it happen. And you may also know that out of the 20 states where they've had these violent protests and people burning buildings and all this stuff, all 20 out of 20 are Democrat states. And also we have the BRICS. As soon as these riots started, the BRICS, and that straight away people were onto that. George Soros, I think I put my video out that day, like it was just so blatantly obvious that it was him. And then people did a bit of research. Bill Gates is in there. It's all the same familiar names. They all own this company, the Acme Brick Company. This is, and it's getting to the points of ridiculousness. They're just throwing all these smoke screens, and these are the biggest smoke screens I've ever seen. Seriously, locking down the world, guys. A lot of people have been saying this, but if I got on here and made a video 4 months ago and I said, guys, in 3 weeks, the world will be in lockdown. You'll all be in lockdown for 3 months. You won't be allowed to go to work. You won't be allowed to gather in groups. Half the world will be wearing masks. You would call me crazy. And that's where we are right now. We are in crazy. So, I mean, it's unprecedented. So, oh my God, I said it. But yeah, so what's going on? There has to be more going on. There has to be. We obviously know this was the best information I can get so far is that this was planned by the deep state, the cabal, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. The Hillary and her gang. And obviously they wanted to crash the economy, take over the world. We know the deal. Vaccinations, chipping, blah, 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 as they've been telling us for the last 100 years. And in the background, for the last 50 years, we've had the queue that's been growing from these original 200 military officers. And what the story that's coming out is that their intel told them that this was going to happen. And people were talking, this whole lockdown was predicted by many, many people a couple, at least 2 or 3 years ago. So the intel was there. They knew it was happening. So the story is they knew it was happening. They needed someone who was brash enough, who had a big enough ego and enough experience with those kind of people to get in there and get something done. And so they got Trump. And Trump has been doing all this stuff behind the scene. And when you look at Trump being interviewed as well, there's something. He's holding his cards close to his chest. You can see that he's playing the game. He's sort of letting out information. Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, make everyone happy. But just some of the things he says, he's dropping all these different weird little bits and pieces. The mainstream media want to just tell you that he's just a bit crazy, but is he, or are they messages? Is he talking to people, with eyes to see and ears to hear? And as we go forward, things, at the start we were getting all these reports of in the USA, all the military were sent. There were tanks and trucks and stuff being sent all over the country, and that was months ago. I haven't heard anything about it since. All the riots have been quelled. I mean, there was a bit of violence there, but I mean, that was a pretty intense situation too, with people burning buildings and things. That seems to have all gone away. It's like we've gone from everything happening, and now there's not a lot happening. It's all just sort of stopped, and no one's really back at work yet, and nothing's really open, which makes me think there's a lot going on in the background, because if this was the cabal in charge, they wouldn't let this stop. They'd be pushing, 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 and they are, of course. You know, they're still trying to push their second wave, but that's even almost disappeared. And what's happened to Bill Gates? Where's he been the last 2 weeks? He was everywhere, and he just disappeared. And so did his husband. Where are all these people? Where are they all, guys? This is what I'm thinking. It's like I say, the more we get into this, the more I think that this is real. And you want to talk about a great awakening, and this is the other thing. This has been talked about. The Great Awakening has been talked about for hundreds of years as well. Around this time, obviously we've got the whole 2012, 2020 sort of date, date mix up, and that the dates are all wrong, and that we could be in 2012 now. But you want to talk about a great awakening? I mean, if you lift all the debt and get rid of the banks, that you want to talk about freedom. No one will know the world. And another thing I watched just the other day, it was actually a link from a sub, and it was on Adolf, Mr. Hitler, can I say that, in in the 1930s. And I remember when I was in primary school, I had a teacher, Mr. Downey, and he was actually a really good teacher, one of the only ones. And I still remember him saying that if Adolf Hitler was killed in 1939, he would have gone down in history as one of the greatest leaders ever. And he's absolutely correct. Adolf Hitler was the man of the year in Time magazine in 1939. They held the Olympics there. It was in 38, I think. And basically, the story is that World War One came. At the end of World War One, Germany got smashed. The bankers went in and said, "This is all your fault. You now have to pay for all these countries to be rebuilt. But you've got no money. But hey, guess what? We'll lend it to you at interest." So that destroyed Germany, bankrupted them, and they were basically a third world country for like a decade. And then in the early 30s, enter Adolf, and he became leader in 33. 6 years later, by 1939, they were the richest country in Europe. They had the highest standard of living. They had the lowest unemployment. They had, the highest education rate. Everyone owned a house. Everyone had a very good standard of living. And the reason is that when he took power, the first thing he did was kick out the Rothschilds-owned banks. And in 6 years, they went from a third world country to the most prosperous country in England, because they didn't have the debt of the Rothschilds banking system. So you imagine if I'm saying when now, because everything's intention, guys. Everything's intention. Let's make this happen. Let's make it. Let's will it. It's we're the creators. This is our reality. This is our realm. We make the choices. So I say we make this happen, because, like I said, if that could happen in a country in 6 years, imagine how the world would change. Imagine how a continent like Africa or South America would change if they had no debt, if everyone had a guaranteed income. Imagine. I mean, this is what we're going towards, guys. This is the awakening. And like I say, the more I look into this, the more it feels like it's real, like it's happening. And of course, we have the debunking of Nesara, and this is a very interesting site. Nesara Victory Party, and as you can see, it's all it's made to make it look silly. Obviously, we've got a peace sign here on the White House. We've got Jesus come back. I'm not sure who this is. Probably an alien. What are they called? The Andromedans or something. Peace, love. Everyone's dancing around. Woohoo! So that's pot of gold. That's basically to say this is all silly. And as we see here, as the United States government struggles under the weight of both the pandemic and the economic devastation it's brought, an old conspiracy theory has suddenly reared its ugly head, and because I've written about it before, I'm in a unique position to write about it again. Oh, who are you? Let's see who he is in a minute. That conspiracy theory is Nesara, a pie-in-the-sky prosperity scam that would see all debt abolished and vast riches raining down on the people as the culmination of a great war between good and evil. In the prospective cash payments, mortgage pauses, and debt forgiveness that are being kicked around by Congress, conspiracy believers see the fulfillment of Nesara, a time of light and hope that will make us all rich beyond our dreams. I'm not sure if everyone believes that they'll make it. See, the thing is, how can everyone be rich beyond their dreams? If everyone's got the same, if everyone's rich, then, no one's rich, right? Everyone just has a really good standard of living. So that's, stupid. Then he, of course, has to go ahead and put some tweets up, which no doubt back him up. Waters plan include 2,000 to every adult, 1,000 for every child per month. What? Suspends all credit cards and consumer payments, blah, blah, blah. Breaking news, chairwoman announces committee plans for comprehensive fiscal stimulus and public policy response. Oh my gosh, that's got nothing to do with Nesara. That's to do with, well, this has, and this is to do with the 17 trillion they printed. But anyway, I just wanted to show this because then he goes down and he tries to link it to the Hunt for Red October, to Da Vinci Code, trying to link it to movies and saying it's all coming from movies. He does actually say that it is a proper act, but then he sort of goes on to do it, to just make it look silly and like a conspiracy theory, because that's like in the first line, right? An old conspiracy theory, first line. So who is this? Who wrote this? Mike Rothschild. Yes, a Rothschild of the Rothschild banking family. I just thought I would show you that, found it quite interesting. Nesara. Here it is, the Nesara, the National Economic Stabilization and Recovery Act, 108th Congress, second session. The bill has not yet been introduced. This is what they're trying to get, and then get it, what's the word? Given out to the public, announced. To amend the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, which of course was signed after Jekyll Island and all of that kind of stuff. The sinking of the Titanic, where they killed all the banksters. Well, actually, they killed half the banksters, because they fight each other all the time. So this was the start of it. So they're trying to repeal that. So these are all acts brought in by the banksters, and they're basically just trying to repeal them, because all tax is illegal, by the way. All tax was brought in during World Wars, because they were saying, oh, well, we need money, you've got to support the country, so we need to bring in income tax. Of course, when the war finished, as we know with all bills and things that these people introduce, they never go away. So we still have income tax 50 years later. Nice. To amend the Federal Reserve Act. So yeah, this is it. It's an actual act. And here are all the bits and pieces. I'll leave the link if you want to go through this. And basically what it is it's the banking and monetary reform. So basically getting rid of interest on loans, getting rid of debt on money, getting rid of sales tax and income tax. So they talk about just 10% flat rate tax and sales tax on only new items. So here it is. Tax gone. All these appendages, you can read through it all. Monetary policy reform. So there's a lot to do, obviously, behind the scenes. They've got to change lots of laws to get it all in. And this is, and as you know, there's a lot of it. So this isn't something that someone just sat down and wrote out to start some kind of conspiracy theory. This is an actual legal document, as you can see. And it is real. Like you can find this in Congress, in USA. Like it's an actual act. So it's not a conspiracy theory. So the only question is, if this is real, and we know we've heard this JFK speech, And this is real. So, did these 200 military officers form? I mean, after the president like JFK was assassinated, that's not a stretch at all. Have they been trying for 50 years to bring down the cabal? Well, I've been doing it most of my, that's what we do, right? That's what we do with our time. I mean, what else is there to do until you're free? So really the main question is Trump in on this, and is this all being enacted? And like I said, we look around and all these people have disappeared. The economy's gone, the old economy's gone, which good riddance, it was debt-based, it was a slave system. And yeah, the Pope seems to have gone, all the Vatican seems to have gone. Italy was the first country to shut down, and the Vatican's gone, the Pope's gone, the Clintons have gone, Barack's gone, the royal families have, where are they all? Something big is going on here, guys. And now that things are starting to open up again, we may not have too long to wait to see some actual proper evidence, because that's what everyone's been hanging out for. At the start, there was a lot about the kids and saving the kids from the tunnels and the dumbs, because we know this has got a lot to do with child trafficking, and it gets really, really, really dark. The people who have been in control, they're not people. They're devils. They're they're the archons. They're parasites, and they need to go. So yeah, I've been rambling a bit, I know. So I'm going to close it up here. But this is Nesara. Is it happening? Let's keep an eye open for the next few weeks, and we really should start to see if this is true. In the next few weeks, we will start to see things coming through. I've also heard, guys, if you hear anything, leave it in the comments. I've heard that students in the US are checking their student debts, and a lot of them have disappeared. Have you got a student debt? Are you in the USA? Is that true? Do you know anyone? Let me know. If you've got any other info about, the children, the child trafficking, arrests, Guantanamo Bay, anything, leave it in the comments, because I would love to know. I've been trying to get hard evidence on this for a long time, and I haven't got anything hard to show, obviously, as far as evidence. But as far as circumstantial, it's just got to the point where I'm pretty much, I think this is happening, guys. I really do. All right. Thanks for spending some time with me. Please leave me a comment, hit the bell, subscribe, share this video around, because everyone needs to know what's going on and what's coming, because it is going to be good. I've always known this. I've always had the feeling this was good from the start. So I'm going with that. I'm going to trust myself. Yeah, have an amazing day, guys. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I shall talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.